Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Phil and welcome to Expo Aviation. Today's trip report is our flight from Miami to Atlanta with Delta Airlines. This would be the first of two flights for us today, as we would be travelling back home to Manchester, England. Our taxi drops us off at Miami Airport and we found our way into the terminal building and headed towards the check-in desks. It was a little confusing here, as there was a large queue for the check-in desks. However, you actually need to use the self-check-in computers to the side of the queue to get your boarding cards first, so the desks are effectively a bag drop. So take note, don't be a wally like me and stand in line for over 10 minutes before realising something is amiss. We would be using the H-gates. As we had got through check-in and security so quick, we went for a wander down to the end of the pier. There was a few food and drink outlets here. I took the opportunity to venture over to the large windows overlooking one of the runways before the missus inevitably dragged me away to get some food. It was an airport after all, so I'm not going to complain about the food and drink being overpriced. The pizza was okay, and the beer was good too. Our aircraft today was a 23-year-old McDonnell Douglas MD-90, November 936 Delta November. Delivered new to SAS, that's Scandinavian Airlines, in 1996. This aircraft operated for Iceland Express, Hello of Switzerland and Bangkok Airways until SAS leased it to Delta in 2011. This would be my first ride on any variant of the Mad Dog, and I've been looking forward to it since booking the trip earlier in the year. We would be travelling in the Delta Comfort Plus cabin and would be able to board before regular economy passengers. Boarding began behind schedule at 14:15 and we made our way inside. The seats are in a 2+3 configuration. Our Comfort Plus seats were near the front of the main cabin. The seats were comfortable with ample legroom and a seat pitch of 34 inches. A plug socket was provided for use with chargers and laptops. Despite the age of the aircraft, the interior was clean and well looked after. Delta had refurbished their MD-80 fleets a few years back in an effort to keep them looking modern. Boarding was completed at 14:42 and we made our way to the runway. We got to take the scenic route though, as the runway was changed pretty much as we got to the end of it, so we had to taxi back all the way right past our gate to the runway threshold. This was fine by me though, as I was able to score the old Boeing 727 that had been dumped on the far side of the airport, which I would have missed had it not been for our magical mystery tour. Our takeoff roll began 35 minutes after pushback, and it was certainly a surreal experience given that the engines are right at the back of the aircraft, meaning it's unusually quiet up front.
Precies alsof er geen probleem is. We zijn bijna een uur over tijd. Precies, je mag er niets van zeggen, we doen dat altijd alles oké is. Ah ja, oh ja.
Once in the air, I expected the cabin service to begin. However, it was a bit bumpy, so the crew remained seated for 45 minutes. Unlike the previous flight, this was a bit rougher, but I've had bar carts out in far worse. Whilst waiting, or should I say hoping that a drink might find its way over to me, I checked out the literature. There was of course a safety card and a menu for the food available for purchase. Sky magazine, Delta's in-flight magazine, was there too. It was packed with information about Delta and its ever-growing network. The piece on their new Airbus A330 NEOs did look good. Wireless connectivity was provided free of charge, allowing us to use WhatsApp and other messaging services. I found it really novel sending a message back home to England whilst climbing over the Everglades. If you wanted more than messaging services, then packages were available for purchase. Entertainment was also provided via the wireless network, and no additional apps were required to use this feature. Information regarding the current flight, connections, and terminal information was also available via the wireless service. Eventually the crew were released so they could begin the cabin service. This consisted of providing drinks and snacks to those in first class and ignoring everyone else. There was half an hour between being released and top of descent. Surely they could have made some effort. To sum up, I have mixed feelings about this experience with Delta. The aircraft was late getting into Miami, which in turn made us late leaving. The taxi took over 35 minutes, further adding to our delay. However, neither of those are down to Delta. The aircraft itself was clean. The seats were comfortable with very good legroom, and despite it being an old aircraft, it had been retrofitted with wireless entertainment. There was also, of course, the novelty factor of being on an MD-90, which was an important factor for me in selecting the flight. I can't comment on the service though, as there wasn't any, at least for anyone outside of first class. This was very disappointing. The crew were friendly during boarding at least, but I find it deeply disappointing that once again the Comfort Plus passengers were ignored, while the first class passengers still got served. I will say that I understand it's a short enough flight, and obviously on a longer flight it wouldn't have been a problem. But if, like us, you're connecting onto another flight, you do need something to eat, even if it is just a muffin. When we came in for landing, we could see another aircraft on approach to a parallel runway. This was pretty cool. Once on the ground, our taxi took a little while. This wasn't too bad in itself. However, as we were on a tight connection, which thanks to the delays made it even tighter, it did make for an interesting dash across the airport where we would barely make our flight back home. That video is for another day, so as always, thanks for watching.